Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Tuesday, March the 3rd, 2025, and really good episode of Talking Boxing last night. We had a really good discussion amongst all the people that were in the chat, and it was really good actually to get a lot of new, I was going to call them new faces, new commenters. Usually it's always sort of, you get a lot of the same people that sort of dominate proceedings, but it was really good last night to get a lot of new people, which shows obviously that the show is growing, more people are watching it, and more importantly having input. And normally I get on about, I don't know, 5 minutes or so before the show starts. I'll just bring up the YouTube page because it has the the thumbnail and the event and all that sort of stuff, and a lot of people get on early and put their comments in. There might be up to sort of 15 or 20 comments in the chat before we even start. But I did log on last night and there was none. I thought, oh well, maybe there's not much to talk about, and it might be a bit of a battle to get through the 2 hours. But geez, once we got started, everyone sort of flooded the comments, and it's great. I really love the community that we're sort of building, and everyone's always respectful, and all the peanuts that you might get in there, which is very, very rare, by the way, are quickly weeded out, and they can go to some other channels and have their say. But to everyone that commented last night, thank you. And if you do watch the show and you haven't commented yet, you're one of those silent people out there that just like to watch, that's great, but don't be shy. Make sure you put a comment or something in there, and look, it might be something that's it's been on your mind for a while, or you wanted some clarification about, but don't feel silly about it. We're all just typical boxing fans who just enjoy the chat. So again, don't be shy. So the thing on the minds of everyone last night was the Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach fight, and whether it was a knockdown, whether it wasn't, or should have been scored a knockdown, and everything else. At the end of the day, it cost Lamont Roach the fight. So look, I was trying to be sort of the mediator in between of, I won't say there was actually two distinct sides, because most people were pretty adamant that it was should have been scored a knockdown or had a standing 8 count, which then would have awarded Lamont Roach the fight. I was probably trying to be the middleman who, my points were, and we just need clarification of it, and nothing's come out yet, and I'm sure it will, but my points were, well, what if, because most people are saying, well, the laws say this and the rules say this. Well, I want to see those rules and laws. I want to see them and have it clarified, because my point was, again, just being the middleman, was, well, what if he didn't have to give Tank Davis the standing 8 count because he took a knee? And if he did have to take, or did have to score it a knockdown or give him a standing 8 count, did the judges have to actually take the point? Because they might have said, all right, well, okay, the referees had to give him a count because his knee touched the ground, but as judges, we don't have to take, not take a point, don't have to score the round 10-8 for Lamont Roach. It was a bizarre incident. I think it actually took Steve Willis or caught him off guard as well, and I think that's why maybe he panicked a little bit. Maybe he just didn't think. This is the other thing we haven't thought about. Maybe because it was just such a unique sort of situation that he was just like, yeah, you're right, okay, yep, good, and off you go. And the penny didn't drop as far as, well, now you've got to give him that standing 8 count. Because the referee, Steve Willis, I'm talking about, when he went down, because what if he didn't say, I'm sure you have, because 99% of people have commented on it, but when he got hit with the jab, it looked like, and someone pointed it out last night, and I went back and watched the replay, and they're 100% right, Lamont Roach jabs didn't really land, but what it did is flick his braid into his eye. And now he's saying it was grease in his eye or something. Must have been on the braid. I don't know. Tank, what are you doing putting grease in your braids, mate? Not silly. Well, not smart. Very silly, that anyway. So, but apparently it's gone into his eye, and for a split second, he obviously didn't know the rules either, because he's like, well, I'll back off, I'll take a knee, then goes to the corner, and the cornerman, I won't say gets on the ring apron, but sort of puts himself up there and wipes Tank Davis's eyes. Now, with all this, going on, maybe Steve Willis could have used the opportunity to maybe even take a point, even if he wasn't going to rule the knockdown or rule the knee on the ground and knockdown. Maybe if he had said, well, mate, you've not only have you taken a knee, but you've also had your trainer almost get up on the ring apron and wipe your face mid-round, which is a no-no. I'm going to take a point. So a lot of discretion could have been used, and it wasn't. All Steve Willis did was say, Tank, mate, you can't do that, and wiped his gloves. Well, actually, I think he asked him if he was okay. Not sure whether that was the right thing to do or that's what he should have done, but he said he okay and wiped his gloves and just said box on. Now, the big question also has also been asked is, what if it had been on the other foot? Would he have afforded the same luxury to Lamont Roach? I've got a feeling he would have, because if he didn't know the rules, I'm just assuming here, he didn't. Well, he would have had to have known the rules. That's a silly question or silly statement, isn't it? But if he gave Gervonta Davis that out, I suppose, I've got no doubt that he would have done it for Lamont Roach as well, because I don't think it was the fight, it was just the situation. He's like, you're okay? Now, a lot of you might differ in your opinions of that and say, no, it had been Lamont Roach, he would have definitely called it a knockdown. But this is where the grey area is. Come out and clarify it. Come out and say, well, he didn't have to score it a knockdown, so he didn't, which means he would have done the same for Roach. But who knows? But anyway, all that aside, I'm going round and round in circles here about all these what ifs. But the news in the last sort of 24 hours is that the WBA are looking to order a rematch, which is the right thing to do. Whether Tank Davis was looking to do that is one thing. That's what I thought initially, but it has since been revealed by Gervonta Tank Davis himself on X that he wants the rematch and he wants it by the end of May. So it's going to be a quick turnaround if that is the case. Much quicker turnaround than Tank Davis normally has for his fights. Normally he fights, once a year, once every 15, 16 months. Well, this is going to be, a 3-month turnaround, not even 3-month turnaround. So let's hope it happens. I think Lamont Roach definitely deserves another shot, and it just puts it all to bed. The other point, I suppose, or the other thing that was brought up that I did see as well is that Lamont Roach was looking to have the result overturned. Now, and I think Ryan Garcia might have actually brought this up. Now, his point is that while if the referee did indeed drop the ball and didn't award that a knockdown, which would have been a 10-8 round, if all things went the way we all thought they should have, then that would have cost Lamont Roach the fight. And probably Ryan Garcia mentioned this, well, geez, they took the fight away from me with Devin Haney for whatever reason. A little bit more serious than what happened on Sunday, I will say, but that's a point they're saying. And I think the easiest way to do it might be, I'm not sure whether they'd overturn the decision. I'm not sure whether they can. And obviously they can make a fight a no contest. But I just think in this situation, it would be Steve Willis, if he is found to have done the wrong thing, whether he's reprimanded, I don't think he'll be banned or anything like that. I think someone brought that up last night. I think it'll just simply be a case of him being reprimanded. Maybe, look, he might be stood down for a little bit of time, but I don't think it'll be anything serious. And I think they would just make him learn from the experience. But the thing is, with the experience, he is one of the most renowned referees in the world. So the fact that he's stuffed up is quite monumental. But that's what they're sort of saying is that no matter what, I think the WBA will just say, look, let's just get a rematch. Let's get this sorted out. Let's not make too big a deal out of it, and let's move on. Easier said than done for Lamont Roach. You probably lost out on some big paydays by not getting the win. I get that. But yeah, that's what seemed to happen. And just one more thing on that. We had Eggate last week. We've got Greasegate this week with the hair. But the plot thickens because his stylist, or whoever it is that actually cut his hair, or whatever they braided his hair, has said, well, it wasn't 2 days, it was more like 4 days before the fight that she did it, and don't go blaming her for the grease in the eyes, for Greasegate. And yeah, of course, in this instance with this fight, grease is the word, isn't it? So anyway, we'll see what happens there. I think the odds are we'll see a rematch. I wouldn't think it'll be May. I think you'd probably be more looking like June, July, whatever. But either way, hopefully Roach gets his rematch. Now, speaking of Ryan Garcia, we all know he's fighting May 2nd in Times Square with the 3 big world title fights, or actually they're not world title fights, are they? 3 big fights, 1 title fight on there, Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barboza Jr. Now, there has been some concerns, safety concerns for the people in attendance. So we didn't know it's going to be in Times Square, and from all accounts it's going to be free. So they're going to set the ring up in the middle of Times Square, and anyone will be able to pretty much wander down. Now, I've been to a fight like that, nothing like this one, but they did normally in Vegas the week of those big fights, a couple of days before, they'll do a show. It used to be at the Hard Rock. I've been to the Cosmopolitan a couple of times, the Palms a couple of times as well. But I went to a fight night. It was Oscar De La Hoya, so it would have been a Canelo fight. And they did it out the front of T-Mobile Arena. There's a big plaza, Toshiba Plaza, and they put a ring there, and it was free. You could just wander up and watch the fights. I can't remember who fought. They weren't big names or anything, but it was free. So I could see what they're getting at. This one's in Times Square, and the safety concerns is that is a major hub for tourists in New York. And if you've been to America, or specifically New York, it's just packed all the time. So and there's a lot of sort of undesirables around there as well. A lot of people looking to swindle your money for any which way they can. So that's the concerns they've got now. No doubt there'll be security, police, all that sort of stuff. But when you can have literally tens of thousands of people or whatever just being able to rock up to a ring, it's in the middle of Times Square with no real control, that might be a bit tricky. But anyway, I'm sure they'll work it out. I'm sure they've looked at all these contingencies, and Turkey LLC did release an AI picture of what it would look like, and it does look pretty cool with the sort of buildings in the background there with the big screens and all that sort of stuff. So let's hope it happens. Big weekend that is too. That's on the Friday night. Canelo will fight in Saudi Arabia on the Saturday night, and then it looks like Naoya Inoue will fight in Vegas on the Sunday night. So yeah, it'll be a big weekend, especially if you want to jet over there and see the fights. You could fly to New York, and then the next day fly to Las Vegas and catch both shows, and on the way even catch the Canelo fight maybe in a pub or something on the way as well. So big weekend that will be. And actually on that show as well, Jim Lampley is making a comeback, which I'm really happy about, because he's one of my favourite, or probably the favourite commentator I think we've had over the years with HBO. And he's going to call the fights, which will be awesome. Now, there has been maybe some calls for Max Kellerman to make a comeback as well, and I'm not sure what he's up to these days. He was on ESPN there for a while with that other idiot, that's Stephen A. Smith, but hasn't really been seen much since. There's a call to maybe have him back. I doubt we'll see Roy Jones Jr. or George Foreman back in the mix as well, but how good is it going to be for Jim Lampley? I think there was quite a few comments about it last night, actually, with people who, like me, miss those days with the HBO telecast, but it'd be great to have him back here. It's a little bit like here in Australia with the football. If you're an AFL fan, to have Bruce McAvaney back on the airwaves. If you're not an AFL fan, you won't know what I'm talking about, but he's the doyen of AFL football here in Australia. Now, the other thing was, I did see that Andy Ruiz is back in training. Apparently he's going to fight on a Riyadh card this year. Now, talk about forgotten men. This guy is the forgotten man in the heavyweight division. And I'll tell you what, it takes me right back to the days of James Buster Douglas. This guy reminds me so much of Buster Douglas. Now, of course, everyone, well, if you're a boxing fan, surely you know who Buster Douglas is, but of course he upset Mike Tyson. But the comparisons are there, and and the comparisons are that Buster Douglas with that massive upset win over undefeated Mike Tyson, just like Andy Ruiz had the massive upset over Anthony Joshua. They both failed in world title attempts before that against fighters they probably fancied to beat. Andy Ruiz lost to Joseph Parker. Buster Douglas lost to Tony Tucker. I think it was 3 years before, or 2.5 years before. So they both failed in their previous attempts, got a crack at the heavyweight champion of the time and caused a massive upset. But then both of them pretty much imploded. James Buster Douglas, He put on a lot of weight, didn't really train, thought it was all just going to happen again. Andy Ruiz the same, hit the party circuit, the drugs, all that sort of stuff. Put on a lot of weight, and same thing. And then both lost their fights in the first defence. So Ruiz lost the rematch to Joshua, and Buster Douglas was demolished by Evander Holyfield. And then similarly with each other, they both just went into obscurity. Come here, man. Look at him out there. He's bloody. Come on. Go again. Come on, man. Little puppy there. Come on, mate. Come on. Let's go. Yeah, mate. And then both. Sorry about that. Just got caught around one other post box, mailbox. So then after they lost the titles in the first defences, really disappointing performances by both of them. They just vanished. And Buster Douglas wouldn't fight for 6 years, and would have, I think he had about 8 or 9 fights when he came back, but was nowhere near the same fighter. I think he might have won most of them, but they never even got close to a big fight again after that. So vanished for 6 years and then nothing. And Andy Ruiz has been the same. He did fight last year against Miller. And for that draw, I didn't think he won the fight, but now apparently he's on the comeback trail. But geez, the comparisons are just unbelievable. That after scoring those massive wins, they just pretty much went into obscurity. And similarly, that's still the word. Both of them had the trait as well as about putting on a lot of weight. And especially Andy Ruiz with that unique looking body, hasn't he? All upper body is Andy Ruiz, so very unique. Someone stole his ass, I think, because he's never really got one. So now I did see as well a fight being talked about is Junto Nakatani looking to maybe fight on Inoue's undercard in Las Vegas. Now he's going to fight, is it Ryodi Nishiki? I hope I've got that right, the IBF champion. So that would be awesome if that was the case, for both guys to fight in Vegas on the same card, and then potentially fight later in the year. So that's a big fight, a unification fight, WBC versus IBF, and then Inoue in the main event. Now he's fighting, I think, was he fighting Mikado? It was announced who don't quote me on it anyway, but either way, both looking to be on the same card in Las Vegas. And speaking of undercards, it looks like David Benavides will fight on the undercard of the third Dimitri Bivol after Beterbiev fight later in the year as well. So obviously that is then preempting a big fight between the two winners, probably next year, I'm probably thinking. And either way, whoever wins, what a fight that would be, whether it's Bivol or Beterbiev against Benavides, all the Bs. It would be absolutely fantastic. So I think they're talking about October for that fight, which sort of makes sense. So yeah, so look out for that. Bivol Beterbiev 3 with David Benavides on the undercard. One last thing, and I haven't mentioned it the last few days. I'm sure you all watch Oscar De La Hoya's Clapback Thursdays. I didn't comment. I think it was actually a couple of days late last week. I didn't comment on it. I had a few people say, why didn't you review his clapback? Well, there wasn't really much to cover in the clapback, because he didn't really say a lot apart from criticising Joe Rogan for not having him on his show. He was on there with the director. I can't remember his name. He's been in a lot of movies and stuff as well. And he actually got a pat on the back because he listens to the Clapback Thursdays, or watches the Clapback Thursdays. Yeah, he did say he would be willing to go on his show with Dana White. And just the ratings for that would be massive, wouldn't it? Probably not as big as a Donald Trump one, I'm probably thinking, but he did offer to go on there with Dana White and Joe Rogan. What else did he complain about? The Masked Singer. He was nominated for a Grammy back in the day, Oscar De La Hoya. I knew he'd brought out an album, but I didn't know it was nominated for a Grammy. And he could actually sing. He wasn't too bad. They had a few clips of him on there, and he wasn't too bad. He took a year out of his career when he was at his prime to bring out an album. Now, I'm sure it would have sold a lot as well, but yeah, the fact that he was nominated for a Grammy is one of the weirdest things you'll hear. But he was on the Masked Singer over there, and wasn't happy he was eliminated in the second week. And then, of course, signed off with his customary salute to Canelo Alvarez, as he always does every week. But I'll see, hopefully, look, the thing is with those clapbacks as well, maybe he didn't have a lot to say because maybe he's made peace with most people. You got to remember now he's working in with Eddie and everyone else, so maybe he's got nothing else to sort of complain about. He's got nothing to clap back about, except for Canelo, of course. That will never go away. But yeah, he seems to have just watered down the clapbacks. Maybe he was told to or asked to by Turkey to not maybe spoil relationships and partnerships going forward. But yeah, a little bit tame. Not the usual clapbacks that we've been used to, but they are entertaining anyway. So hopefully they spice up a bit going forward. So guys, that's going to do it for this week. For today. Thanks again to everyone that watched the show last night, and we'll catch you tomorrow.